All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the brief delay. At this time, does the defense care to make an opening statement?
Yes.
You may proceed.
Justice Fushida, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Flack. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is William Kunstler, and I'm one of the attorneys for Larry Davis. And as the judge indicated, although we're not required to make an opening statement, we have decided to make one. And the opening statement has been described by many lawyers and judges as a roadmap. I think the judge used that term, but I'd like to use it as the table of contents for a book. And you are all hearing the table of contents. I'm going to give a table of contents, but the book will be written here. And you will have to decide which table of contents is true and which one is false. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, remember that anything that I say is not evidence at all. You can believe it, disbelieve it if you want. It's not evidence any more than what Mr. Wilson said this morning is evidence at all. You see, we are not participants, we're adversaries, advocates. We're each here to win. As we explained during the voir dire, so take what all of us say with a grain of salt. On the balance of the ear, listen to the table of contents, wait for the book, and the book will be written from that witness chair. And any exhibits that come into evidence, non-testimonial exhibits. Each side will present its table of contents in what are called opening statements. Then someday down the line, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months, whatever, you will have to get into that little room back there and decipher which book has been written in truth and which book is written in fiction. And all we can ask you to do is to hold in mind not to be inflamed by wounds, graphic details, or anything else, because that is not really the issue in the case. The issue is the truth. The only issue in this case, as I'll say when I end, is who fired the first shot on November 19th, 1986 in apartment 1A at 1231 Fulton Avenue, and you will hear evidence about that. Now, after I finish the prosecution, we'll begin, as it must, presenting its evidence, trying to fill in its table of contents. You will hear direct examination, you'll hear cross-examination, then you'll hear the defense. After they finish, the defense will have its opportunity, if it desires, and thinks it's necessary to put in the case. Now remember, the indictment that was read to you has no legal significance to you at all, other than to bring the charges. It has no evidentiary value. No matter how many times you recite 20 counts to a jury, it doesn't change it from just unproved accusations, or a series of accusations. Now, we think the evidence will show the following. It's going to show that Larry Davis was certainly a 19-year-old Bronx Street kid in 1986. It's going to show that he lived in the West Bronx, just a few blocks from here, up on Woody Crest Avenue, and you'll probably hear testimony about 1042 Woody Crest Avenue, a house owned by his mother, Mrs. Mary Davis. You'll also find that his mother came from Georgia to New York, had a family of 16 children, of which Larry was the baby of the family, the youngest. But when he was 15, or thereabouts, he was recruited by a gang of corrupt New York City police officers to sell drugs. His recruitment involved him in being enveloped with them until 1986, when the police became worried about their boy, October, September of 1986, sometime later, the 77th precinct in Brooklyn had the same problem. They too were worried about him. One, that he might tell on them. Two, that he ran away with their money. And so a plan was hatched. Not with the entire police department of New York. Not with valiant, courageous, law-abiding officers who protect and serve. A plan was hatched in the dark, devious minds of the corrupt cops of this golden ring of drugs and prostitution. And remember, you assured us, every one of you under oath, that you could conceive of a corrupt police ring. You could conceive of a police assassination attempt. You could conceive of police officers getting on the stand, taking the oath, and lying before God and all who seek to hear. And all we ask you to do is watch the people. Judge the people that testify. Listen to the stories that weigh the balance of justice. And then decide, as the judge will instruct you, whether using your common sense and the criteria he gives you, whether they are telling the truth or not. And that goes for all witnesses, whether they are for the defense or police witnesses or civilian witnesses called by the prosecution to hang Larry Davis. Yes. So now we have brought you up to the fall of 1986. And the police have had it up to here with Larry Davis. On October 31st, 1986, two police officers, one known as Joseph Palooka Joe Nealon, and the other cop, this guy, you know, he's known throughout the South Bronx as Crazy Joe Blank. These guys went to the home of Mrs. Davis. Now, this is a home she bought with her meager savings, I believe from the city of New York. She lived in this humble place with her family of 16 children. Early one morning, one bright day, children are going to school, clothing half on, toast half done, you know. These public servants walked right into the house, marched right up the stairs into Mrs. Davis's bedroom. Mrs. Davis was still in bed, still in her nightclothes. These guys were in a hurry to talk to her. Had she not gotten right out of bed and answered the door, they would have kicked it in, they told her. And now the evidence of this case will show this. So these guys said to Mrs. Davis, "You raised a dirty bastard! You tell your fucking son he's gonna get a fucking bullet right in the front of his goddamn fucking forehead!" And Officer Nealon took his fist and pointed with his forefinger at her head like a gun and showed her what was going to happen when they found her son. The hunted